So, Avengers Doomsday just continues to either have things leak or have different trailers be released or different footage be leaked about this movie. And of course, I am going to cover every single aspect of every single leak, every single trailer that we do get, because, like I have said on this channel, I am a huge nerd. I want to keep all of you guys informed. And not only that, I just love hypothesizing and trying to predict what is going to happen in this movie in particular, because we have absolutely no idea what is going to happen. Or do we? Because the most recent trailers actually showed us a lot and told us a lot. And that's why today we're talking Avengers Doomsday trailer breakdown and predictions. But before we get into anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. All right, so first things first, if you have not seen, I have already broken down the first two trailers that we did get for Avengers Doomsday. Go check out this video here. I will put it up right now. However, this specific video is going to be covering the trailer that we got regarding Thor and the X-Men. So, I'm just going to walk right through what each trailer is and then walk through my different predictions from least likely to happen to most likely to happen. So let's get right into it. The Thor trailer does not give us much as far as visuals, but it gives us a lot as far as dialogue. In the trailer, we see Thor walking, and then he kneels down, has Stormbreaker in his hand, and then he starts talking to Odin. And he starts talking about needing to get back to her, needing the strength for one last fight, so that she doesn't need to experience a life of fighting. She can just know peace. Give him the strength to take down one final enemy. And presumably, this final enemy is Doctor Doom. Now, what are some of my predictions as to number one, what is he talking about? And number two, what is going to happen that leads him to this point? Well, first and foremost, I think one scenario could be that this isn't him actually talking about Love, his daughter, who he adopted from Gore, but rather it's him talking about Jane, talking about wanting to see her one last time. Because maybe, just maybe, in this moment, Thor is no longer alive. Maybe Thor had gotten killed by Doctor Doom, and Thor failed to stop this enemy. That's why he knows he has to go to the Allfather, to Odin, for the strength to defeat this final enemy. And maybe he's asking to see Jane one final time because he deep down knows that even though he quote-unquote died this time, he still has a chance to go back to the land of the living. However, even in doing so, a battle with Doctor Doom would inevitably kill Thor. However, that's not what he's worried about. What he's worried about is being able to defeat Doctor Doom. Now, that's just one scenario, one possibility. I have it as my least likely for a reason. However, I just wanted to throw it out there because we do know Valhalla exists, and that is where Jane currently is. And Thor could right now be in the world between, or the land between, before he goes to Valhalla. However, the most likely scenario for this, in my opinion, is that Doctor Doom did indeed attack Thor. However, not because of Thor, it was because of his daughter Love, and he wanted the power that Love possessed because he is after the children of the multiverse, very powerful children of powerful heroes, and Thor lost this battle against Doctor Doom. Whether or not Thor was killed in this battle, I'm really not sure. I would lean towards yes, and that's why he is going to the Allfather, to Odin, to ask him for help, for the power to not only come back to life for this moment, but the power to defeat Doctor Doom, because at this moment, Thor doesn't have that. And it's also important to note that this version of Thor does not have the Odin Force. He was supposed to. There was a deleted scene for Thor Ragnarok where Odin passed on the Odin Force that then becomes the Thor Force. So I do believe we could get something like that in this movie as well, where Thor gets the Odin Force from Odin. And that might be his big power up in this movie to help combat against Doctor Doom. Because we do know that Thor is going to be one of the main characters. Obviously, we have a ton of characters. However, it was confirmed that Thor is going to be one of the main protagonists of this movie. So it would make sense that he gets a major power up to help go against Doctor Doom, who is this multiverse level threat. With that being said, the other trailer that we do get actually centers around the X-Men, and it has Charles Xavier talking, and then we see Magneto. They both look very old in a disheveled looking X-Mansion, and they are talking about essentially what happens when you die and things like that. And then as this is happening, we flash out to Cyclops in his comic accurate suit, which let me just say, seeing James Marsden in that suit is absolutely beautiful. Cyclops is by far my favorite member of the X-Men, so to see him finally have that comic accurate suit, I know we kind of got it in X-Men Apocalypse at the very end, but that was literally what, like a minute and a half, and then we never saw the suit again. So the fact we're actually getting it here, and not only that, he's literally taking the visor off and just letting loose with his optic blast. That was amazing, absolutely beautiful to see. However, this scene tells us so much too. Not only the fact of what Charles Xavier is saying to Magneto in these moments, but what Scott Summers is doing in this moment. He is literally crashing out. So something major must have happened. And not only that, if you look in the background, you can see legs moving. Who do we know in the X-Men universe that has giant legs like that? If you watch the X-Men cartoons as a kid, you will know those legs belong to the Sentinels. So, what could this mean? Does this mean Doctor Doom is bringing in the Sentinels and gonna take out the mutants? Or is this going to just be a coincidence? Well, let me get into my predictions. So, I think one case scenario could be that the Sentinels came and attacked the X-Men and actually took some of them, one being Jean Grey, and possibly another one being Nathan Summers, aka Cable. And that's why Scott is so distraught in this moment, because he was unable to protect not only his fellow X-Men, but more importantly, his family, the people he loves most. And we've already seen how Cyclops reacts when he loses Jean. So what could that be if he were to lose Jean and Nathan at the same time? However, I feel like this could be a way for Doctor Doom to swoop in and say, hey, I know who took your family, who currently has them, and who is seeking their power. And he could lead them to the Sentinels, who are being controlled by the Council of Kangs. Now, I will get into in a little bit why I think that. However, that is just one scenario, and the reason I am saying that is because there were a couple rumors a few months back that Doctor Doom is going to essentially be building his Dark Avengers team. So if you have Cyclops and you give Cyclops a reason to join Doctor Doom, this would be a perfect reason, and having Kang be set up as the quote-unquote big bad villain in order to trick these heroes, because all they're worried about is getting their loved ones back. They're not worried about the greater scheme that Doom has behind the scenes. This could be a great way to pit hero versus hero and have a lot of the iconic battles that a lot of us comic fans are hoping to see between these heroes, and make it make sense within the story, and have it be similar to a Civil War situation, except in the end, it isn't Iron Man versus Cap where it is hero versus hero. It would be all of the heroes collectively taking on Doctor Doom once they see through his ruse. Now, another reason that I mentioned Kang being a part of that and behind the Sentinels is there was a leak and a couple rumored images that did leak online that were about Doctor Doom and had him walking throughout the Council of Kangs all dead. So I do believe he could either one, frame them, or two, this could be after they get a lot of the children from the multiverse back and Doctor Doom just decide to slaughter all the Kangs and still keep all of the children. And this could be a pivotal point in the film where all the heroes are realizing that they were manipulated. Because again, we do know Chris Evans is coming back as Steve Rogers, so having his child taken could give a scenario in which you get either a Captain Hydra or a Nomad-like character on Doctor Doom's side. Then you have Cyclops. You have one more person, maybe Thor, being on that team as well, because maybe it was the Council of Kangs who directly took Love and Doctor Doom was just behind the scenes and he was able to manipulate Thor in this way. I feel like that is a little less likely, because I feel like Thor could just look to Odin or look to someone omnipotent to see through that ruse from Doctor Doom. So that's why I do have this one pretty low on my list for my predictions, especially for this particular trailer, the X-Men trailer. Now, to me, the most likely scenario regarding this particular trailer, the X-Men one that we saw Cyclops just go absolutely bonkers in, is that Doctor Doom did attack the X-Mansion and he ended up taking either Jean Grey or Nathan Summers. He could realistically take both, because in this universe, Jean may still have the Phoenix Force, and we do know that Doctor Doom is interested, at least for some reason, in either powerful multiversal beings or children of the multiverse. One being Love, one being Franklin Richards, another one being the child of Steve Rogers. And then if you add Nathan Summers in there as well, you can see how he has some sort of plan that revolves around all of these extremely powerful children. Maybe he is trying to use the technology that he stole from the Council of the Kangs when he murdered all of them and tried to siphon off all of these children's power to make him a truly omnipotent being. That way he can possibly recreate whatever he lost. In some storylines, Doctor Doom is trying to resurrect his family, whether that is his child or his wife or both of them. And I could see that leading to Doctor Doom being in some ways a very sympathetic character. All in all, I just feel like this movie is setting up to have a lot of crazy moments and a lot of crazy character interactions. So one way to do that and one way to pit heroes against each other would be for Doctor Doom to be behind the scenes and make the Council of Kangs be seen as the main antagonists. That way, you still get Doctor Doom as the big bad villain, especially in the end. However, you can still see a scenario in which you're pitting members of the X-Men versus members of the Avengers, and then members of the Fantastic Four against both of those teams as well. Obviously, as comic book fans, we want to see hero versus hero. However, we don't just want that at the sacrifice of a good plot. So it has to make sense within the story. And I feel like a scenario in which the Council of Kangs are being used by Doctor Doom, and then the Council of Kangs also use the Sentinels to enact part of their plan would definitely make a lot of sense. Obviously, that is clearly a Sentinel leg behind Cyclops when he is going absolutely mad. And who are some of the best at taking out the mutants? Well, that is obviously the Sentinels. So them taking advantage of the Sentinels makes way too much sense in my opinion. I do think a lot of the X-Men are not going to make it out of probably the beginning of this movie, outside of probably Cyclops, Deadpool, Wolverine, and maybe one or two others. I do think most of them are going to end up getting slaughtered, and then some will end up getting sidelined, either because of injury or because they are the ones that Doctor Doom did take. Like I mentioned before, being Jean Grey and Nathan Summers, I think that is the most likely case scenario as to why Cyclops is going absolutely batshit crazy in this moment. And this could set up a couple really cool things. One really cool thing would being certain characters trusting Doctor Doom, but then other characters knowing who Doctor Doom is, specifically people from the Fantastic Four, and knowing he can't be trusted. So this would make sense as to why maybe the X-Men end up fighting the Fantastic Four, because mind you, the actor who plays Nightcrawler did mention that he had a fight sequence with, I believe, Mr. Fantastic. So pitting the X-Men against each other, this would totally fit. One of these groups sees Doctor Doom as someone who is trying to help them get these very important members of the team back and important members of the Summers family back, whereas the Fantastic Four knows that Doctor Doom is literally behind this. So this could lead to a couple big revelations throughout the movie and realizing that Doctor Doom is the big bad villain. It could also give us a couple really cool interactions between Steve Rogers coming back and maybe trusting Doctor Doom simply because he does look and act like Tony Stark. I do feel like they are going to go down a route where our Tony Stark that we knew and loved and that we watched throughout the MCU actually was Victor Von Doom, and he was just adopted as a child because Tony Stark died at birth. So they just adopted Victor Von Doom after he lost his family. I feel like that's just the easiest way and the least messy way to make it make sense, but also have it addressed in the story to where people aren't going to be pissed and people aren't going to say that it is just too much of a coincidence and it's too easy, it's lazy writing. I feel like it could just work really well. And then not only that, but then we get to see Chris Evans and RDJ on the same side again. Even if it is under false pretenses, it could still be really cool. Let me know what all of you think. Do you agree with any of my predictions? And do you think that is clearly a Sentinel in the back? Because that's probably the thing I am most confident about. Let me know in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye.